Coming up next, this might be the greatest comeback in music history. She's one of rock and roll's greatest survivors and fiercest voices. She seemed to come out of nowhere when everybody had written her off to have one of the biggest blockbusters ever. Her story and her top 5 greatest songs are coming up next from Professor of Rock, brought to you by Zenny Eyewear. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. We invite you to join our community below, hit the bell, subscribe for our daily content so you never miss out. You can become a patron as well to help us curate this great history of the rock and roll era. Speaking of which, there's an elite list of the trailblazers of the rock era. In no particular order, the list would include legends like Chuck Berry, Elvis, Little Richard, Hank Williams, Bob Dylan, Loretta Lynn, there's Ray Charles, Lennon and McCartney, Jagger and Richards, Aretha, Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and a fiery, intrepid singer from Nutbush, Tennessee named Anna Mae Bullock. The world, of course, would later know her by her stage name, Tina Turner, the queen of rock and roll. She could also be called the queen of survival. Tina Turner was abandoned by her mother as a young child. She was violently abused by her ex-husband and business partner Ike Turner for over 15 years. And most recently, she overcame intestinal cancer and kidney failure. A mere mortal, Tina Turner is not. She is an indomitable force whose spirit will live forever, long after she leaves the physical world. I mean, her unequaled strength and resolve should be honored and emulated by this and future generations. Don't even get me started on her majestic and earth-shattering voice. Tina Turner began her professional career in 1958 as a featured singer with Ike Turner and Carlson Oliver under the name Little Ann on a 45 single called Box Top. Shortly after the release of Box Top, Anna Mae began working with Ike on developing her famous vocal control for their live performances. Her introduction to the public with her stage name, Tina Turner, was in 1960, listed on the song Fool in Love. Billed as Ike and Tina Turner Review, Tina immediately riveted audiences with her dynamic stage performances and, of course, her wild, raw, no-holds-barred vocal ability. Her vocal mastery had huskiness in her upper belting range that gave her this very distinctive tone. Throughout her career, Tina Turner has demonstrated her versatility to adapt her vocals to fit a variety of genres. I mean, rock, pop, soul, blues, country, and adult contemporary. And really, she's mastered every nuance in all of those genres. She always brought something new to each song that she's performed. Nobody has ever sounded like Tina Turner. Nobody. I also can't really think of any other artist, male or female, that brought so much unbridled energy on stage as Tina Turner did with every one of her performances. The exception could be her friend Mick Jagger. She deserves the recognition for being one of the ultimate stage performers. Although her live performances were full of steamy intensity, Tina Turner didn't try to look sexy for the men while she was on stage. She never wanted to be overtly sexual on stage, preferring to be part of the sisterhood with her dancers and backup singers that shared the stage with her. Tina learned very early in her career that if you appeal to the women in the audience, the men will come. Tina began to capture international attention in 1966 with the Phil Spector-produced international hit single, River Deep, Mountain High. The song was a smash in the UK. It rose to number 3 and all the way to number 1 in Spain, along with top 20 success in many other countries. Curiously, despite the deep South American roots of both Tina and Ike Turner and the involvement of Phil Spector, the single barely charted in the US, stalling at number 88 on the Billboard Hot 100. I mean, its low chart position was really one of the biggest head scratchers of the year. I'll cover more of that later. Tina, under the moniker Ike and Tina Turner, had a string of international hits from 1966 through 73 and had the big breakout in America in 71 with their reworking of CCR's 1969 John Fogerty-penned rocker, Proud Mary. The performance earned a Grammy Award for Ike and Tina in the category of Best R&B Vocal Performance by a Group in 1972. By 1973, the emotional and physical torture from the tyranny of her then husband Ike Turner had reached a boiling point, and Tina could no longer endure the abuse. The couple ended their personal and professional relationship in 1976, with Tina being granted a liberating divorce in 1978. Now, the main asset that she fought for in the divorce proceedings and legally won was her stage name. Tina Turner would go on without Ike Turner, setting the stage for a career comeback for the ages, one of the most dramatic in music history. After Tina broke away from Ike, she had no money. She even had to take some cleaning jobs just to pay her rent. In 1978, Tina was in the process of building her solo career and, in essence, rebuilding her career. She began performing cabaret-style shows in Vegas and other markets. Tina released 2 solo albums that flopped. In 1980, as Tina was entering her 40s, it looked as if whatever success she was going to achieve in the music business might have been behind her. Prospects really weren't bright at all. And then she met the management team of Lee Kramer and Roger Davies, who attended one of her shows at the Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco. Tina brazenly asked Davies and Kramer to manage her. Kramer was on board right away, but Davies agreed reluctantly. But by 1981, Davies became Tina's sole manager, and his first move was getting her to scrap that cheesy cabaret set and create a gritty rock and roll type show that was more befitting of a dynamic performer like Tina Turner. Soon she was opening for Rod Stewart and the Rolling Stones, and the resurgence of Tina Turner had begun in full force. In 82 and 83, Tina released cover singles of The Temptations' Ball of Confusion and Al Green's Let's Stay Together. Both were hit singles in the UK and other parts of Europe, just like her Ike and Tina Turner days. Her remake of Let's Stay Together also peaked at number 23 on the Billboard Hot 100. Now, Tina Turner's return began to smolder. Then came the Inferno, the release of the landmark album Private Dancer in late 83, big in 84, and really from 84 through 2004, Tina Turner scored 12 top 40 hits in the US and 26 top 40 singles in the UK. The apex of Tina Turner's comeback and her sweetest vindication was her induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1991. In 2018, Tina Turner was honored with the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, the cherry on top of 12 Grammy Awards for Tina Turner. Having said that, here is my Tina Turner fiver. This is very difficult. First, for a few honorable mentions, this is very difficult. First one is We Don't Need Another Hero, Thunderdome. This number 2 hit from Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, with the featured Tina Turner performance as Anti-Entity, has the typical blazing, empowering vocal performance from Tina, along with a beautiful children's chorus and a monstrous sax solo by Tim Capello of Lost Boys fame. It's a song that just takes me back with just a few notes. It places me right in the summer of 1985 when I just seen Back to the Future for like the 8th time in this small town movie theater in Idaho that I lived in. And then I snuck into a screening of Mad Max. I love this song, especially this part. One more honorable mention, The Best. Tina's blasting of the chorus, "You're simply the best, better than all the rest," is full of conviction, with amazing control of her vibrato. You're simply the best! The Best was first recorded by Bonnie Tyler, another throaty vocalist, in '88, but despite breaking the top 10 in Norway and flatlining at number 95 in the UK, Bonnie's version did not chart here in the US. Tina Turner's version of The Best went to number 15 on the Billboard Hot 100, and was a top 5 single in the UK and throughout most of Europe. The song broke the top 10 for the second time in Norway, with Tina's version rising all the way to number 5. The Best was co-written by prolific lyricist Mike Chapman and Holly Knight. The sax solo in The Best is performed by Mr. Frankenstein himself, Edgar Winter. Number 5, from 1973, Nutbush City Limits, billed as Ike and Tina Turner. It's one of the last recordings released by Tina and Ike as a husband and wife duo. Nutbush City Limits is Tina's song for sure. It's a semi-autobiographical tune that Tina personally composed, and what a composition. It was the lead single from the album of the same name, and her vocal performance on the track is just pure dynamite, reflecting the song's personal significance. Although uncredited, there are many that claim that Mark Bolan from T-Rex played lead guitar on the track. Bolan's girlfriend during that time was Gloria Jones, who was also a backing vocalist for Ike and Tina, and Gloria stated that the claims are true. Bolan did in fact play the guitar through the recording session of Nutbush City Limits. The subject remains open to conjecture. Nutbush City Limits was a mild hit in America, peaked at number 22 on the Billboard Hot 100, much bigger than its chart position for sure. It went to number 11 on the Billboard R&B chart, but it was huge in Europe. It went to number 1 in Austria and number 4 in the UK. Nutbush City Limits was such a popular single in Europe that it earned Ike and Tina the first ever Golden European Award for selling more than 1 million copies in Europe. Number 4. River Deep, Mountain High from 1966. Another just phenomenal vocal performance from Tina during her days with Ike Turner. I mean, the moment that Tina sings the first line, "When I was a little girl, I had a rag doll."
When I was a little girl, I had a rag doll.
She raises the roof with fire and brimstone gospel conviction, and by the time you're halfway through the song, she has blown the roof completely off the place. The former husband and wife team of Ellie Greenwich and Jeff Berry co-wrote the song with the mercurial Phil Spector, who also, of course, produced the track. River Deep Mountain High is a composite from 3 different parts, and that's one of the reasons why Tina Turner's vocal is so incredible, so amazing. Her voice by itself is an instrument that matches any of the sonic power that Spector produces with the force of a full band and a congregation of backup singers to achieve his signature wall of sound. She adroitly transforms her vocal through each section of the song, and the results are nothing short of mesmerizing. In typical Phil Spector fashion, though, he strived for perfection, and he exhausted Tina in the recording studio, making her sing the song over and over and over again. Tina said that she felt like she sang River Deep Mountain High like 500,000 times. She was drenched with sweat during the ordeal, as she says. Some of the best session musicians, of course, used in the recording session, legendary, including Hal Blaine, Leon Russell, and Glenn Campbell. When it came out, though, like I said, it stalled at number 88, and Phil Spector was crushed. He proudly claimed that this was the best song that he ever produced, which is a really high honor considering that he produced You've Lost That Love and Feeling and Be My Baby, amongst other classics. Now, in 1995, Celine Dion wanted to record her own version of River Deep Mountain High, and actually, Spector was asked and agreed to reprise his role to produce the recording. Unsurprisingly, the sessions were a debacle, and Celine's version from those infamous sessions with Spector were never released. It'd be interesting to hear those. Number 3, Proud Mary. From 1971, Ike and Tina's riveting gestalt turns John Fogerty's Proud Mary into a completely different song. The metamorphosis of Creedence Clearwater Revival's Proud Mary by Ike and Tina Turner was one of the most inventive remakes in rock history. But Ike Turner's arrangement was actually inspired by an earlier recording by a band from Fort Wayne, Indiana named the Checkmates Limited. He wasn't really moved by the original CCR recording. The Checkmates Limited deserve artistic acclaim and the acknowledgement that Ike and Tina Turner's version really borrowed heavily from their bold interpretation. Now, the CCR original was released in January of '69, while the Checkmates Limited's version of Proud Mary was recorded in October of '69. So the Checkmates Limited's version features a rousing vocal by singer Sonny Charles that undoubtedly influenced Tina Turner's vocal style and Ike and Tina's transformation of Proud Mary.
Rolling,
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 rolling.
In the final recording of Proud Mary, Tina sings the last part with just reckless abandon, as only Tina Turner can. Her famous mezzo evolves from her thick mid-range to a wailing crescendo that detonates Proud Mary into a just a soul-stirring spiritual explosion. I mean, it's a funk rock jam fest extravaganza that was a highlight in the live set for Ike and Tina Turner and on subsequent Tina Turner solo concerts. Ike and Tina's Proud Mary shot up to number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100, nearly reaching the number 2 position for CCR's original version in '69. Ike and Tina's version also ascended to number 5 on the Billboard R&B chart. Now, the Checkmate's Limited influential cover peaked at number 30 in the UK and number 69 in the Billboard Hot 100. Interestingly, Phil Spector also worked with the Checkmate's Limited, producing their one and only crossover hit, Black Pearl, that scratched its way to number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the spring of '69. Number 2, I Don't Want to Fight, from the soundtrack of the biopic What's Love Got to Do with It in '93. One of the reasons why I think that this song is so beloved is because when we listen to it as fans, we feel like we're next to Tina, like holding her hand and consoling her for the emotional and physical pain that she went through with Ike Turner. I mean, you can absolutely feel Tina's resolve in this song and her desire to achieve cessation of emotional suffering. Oh, baby, don't you know? No, I don't want to hurt no more. I don't care who's wrong or right. I don't really want to fight no more. I don't want to fight no more. This is time for letting go.
This is time for letting go.
Tina sings the first 2 verses of I Don't Want to Fight with just a sincerity. And by the time we get to that climactic refrain, she has just delivered another knockout punch. Tina's interpretation of I Don't Want to Fight is so inspired. It's a wonder that she didn't compose it.
I don't care who's wrong or right. I don't really want to fight.
I mean, the tune was actually co-written by the British singer Lulu of To Sir With Love fame, Steve DeBerry, and Lulu's brother Billy Lowry. It was originally presented to Sade to record, but Sade actually sent it to Tina. And that's a very interesting factoid. I don't hear it as a Sade song, but Sade's hunch to give it to Tina, very insightful. It's a number that Tina Turner was destined to perform. I Don't Want to Fight was number 1 on the AC charts, number 6 on the Billboard Mainstream Pop chart, number 7 in the UK, and number 1 in Canada. And number 1, it had to be What's Love Got to Do with It? From 1984, I mean, this was a monumental triumph for Tina Turner because it brought her back to the American scene in such a major way. Of course, her popularity soared to the greatest of heights.
What's love got to do with it?
Tina's vocal on What's Love Got to Do with It just reignited her fan base from her days with Ike Turner. But more importantly, it turned on a new generation to her phenomenal, jaw-dropping vocal power. Not only was it her first top 10 in America since the early 70s, it became her one and only number 1 single in the US and remained on the top of the Billboard Hot 100 for 3 weeks. It also rose to number 2 on the Billboard R&B chart and held that position for 5 weeks. The song was co-written by Graham Lyle and Terry Britton, who had composed material for Cliff Richard, Olivia Newton-John, and Michael Jackson, among others. They also wrote We Don't Need Another Hero, Thunderdome. In fact, What's Love Got to Do with It was originally submitted to Cliff Richard, but he rejected it. It was also submitted to Donna Summer. Basically sat on the tune for a few years with really no interest in recording it. It's incredible that that happened. The British band Bucks Fizz was actually the first to record What's Love Got to Do with It.
What's love got to do with it?
The group recorded it in February of 1984, a few months before Tina Turner. The Bucks Fizz version was set to be included on their album, I Hear Talk, but it was sidelined after Tina's signature version was released, and it really destroyed any hopes of releasing a competing version.
Who needs a heart when a heart can be broken?
What's Love Got to Do with It won the Grammy Award for Record of the Year in '85. The monster success of What's Love Got to Do with It made Tina Turner a bona fide headlining act around the world, and she never looked back again. Such a heartwarming story. It was the 3rd single from Tina's blockbuster album, Private Dancer, that put her in the ring with Prince's Purple Rain, Michael Jackson's Thriller, Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA, Madonna's Like a Virgin, The Police's Synchronicity, Lionel Richie's Can't Slow Down, and a few others in that magical 2-year phenomenon of 83 to 84. I mean, I remember my parents bought Private Dancer, and I was hooked.
I'm your private dancer, dancer for money, any old music.
What a record. The title track, Better Be Good to Me. 7 singles came from that magnificent record. I was even more floored when in that same year, 84, I found out that Tina Turner was the same age as my grandma. I mean, no offense meant, but my grandma looked like a grandma. Tina Turner looked like, well, Tina Turner, with a voice like thunder and a rock and roll attitude that just made you stop dead in your tracks to listen. Just incredible. The return of Tina Turner in 84 is one of the most inspiring narratives in the chronicles of the rock era. Her enormous achievements are so divinely deserved for such a beautiful, benevolent spirit. Tina Turner's talent is matched only by her personal strength and fortitude. She's truly one of the most important and influential American icons. To us, her fans, we feel that one of her own songs describes her perfectly. She's simply the best. Leave us a comment about Tina Turner and her amazing career. What is your fiver? What memories do you have that are tied to these incredible compositions? You can get Tina's music and merch by clicking on our Amazon links below. You can also join us on Patreon for more videos, exclusives that you won't find anywhere else. And your contribution helps us create more videos, do more interviews to help us keep the music alive. By joining our Patreon, the link is below, and subscribe to be a part of our community. Of course, hit the bell so you never miss out on our content. Until next time, believe me, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. Stay safe out there.